Welcome to another school year of resounded glory here at Bishop Hartley. I'm Bob McElligott, and I am joined right now by the head football coach, Brad Birchfield. You helped me kick off this show last year when we first started all this. Can you believe it's already been a year? We're back here getting ready for the start of another school year and another great football season.
This has been a great thing. You know, we get a lot of comments from parents and our fans and the other students. They love it. It's great, and let's go.
All right, let's go indeed. When we were talking last year, you were defending a state championship in football. Here we are again, same scenario. You are defending a state championship in football. Before we talk about this year's team and this week's game, just last year, it is so tough to repeat. Were you surprised that all your team was able to do it?
No, I mean, you're never surprised because we're one of those programs that expects to be in the mix. But that being said, you can never expect to win a state championship. So many things have to fall your way. I mean, there were so many plays really the last 3 weeks that if one play goes a different way, you know, we're at home counting uniforms, the other team's ready to play for a championship. So, you know, it's a blessing. A lot of things have to fall in place. We never take it for granted. We celebrate it. You know, we're not one of those that we're moving on. It's not, you know, you celebrate it forever. You're bonded forever, and you should celebrate it. But it's exciting to go for it again.
Some big changes for you this year. Those two championships were Division IV championships. This year you move up to Division III. What kind of a challenge is that going to be?
You know, the challenge is beating the good teams. And I've been a believer. We've been 3, 4, and 5 since I've been at Hartley in the last 10 years. And I know Division V teams that would have spanked Division III teams. And when we were playing Division IV or Division V, we had beaten Division III teams that were either regional champions or state runner-up or whatever. So what it's taught me is the really good teams, they're really good. They do things right, and they can get you. So you have to be better than them.
Well, one thing about high school football is your players change every year. Whether you like it or not, they change every year. And you have some big changes this year, especially on offense. Jake Ruby was your quarterback the last couple of years. He's now graduated. That leaves an opening for you. And you had two guys that have been battling it out in camp. You've got the senior Anthony Carfagna. You've got the young sophomore Miles Fleming. They've been going at it in camp back and forth. You get ready to open this week against Toledo Central Catholic. Who's going to be your quarterback?
They're both going to play, and we anticipate both of them playing significant. You know, I don't know that we don't go in with the competition. You know, you hear that in the sports vernacular. You want competition on your team. Competition kind of is going to lead to one person winning and one person losing. We don't really want any losers. And both of those guys have proven to be winners. Both those guys have done a great job. Neither of them have done anything wrong. So we got to use them both. You know, it's a great thing for us. We're not trying to weed anyone out with competition. We're trying to get them both ready to play, and they're both going to play.
And they both have different skill sets, don't they? How do you integrate both their skill sets into your offense?
Yeah, but they're both real good. They both do real well. They both throw the ball real well. Miles might be a little bit of a runner, but when I say that, it might come off as Anthony can't run, and that's not the case. Anthony's a really good runner as well. If I say that Anthony is a better pocket passer, it might come off that Miles is not a good pocket passer, and that's not the case. Both of them do all those things really, really well. It's exciting to have this. You know, it's not a dilemma, it's a blessing.
Let's be honest, your offense is about running the ball anyway. So your quarterback has to be able to manage that offense, make the reads, make the good decisions. Isn't that the most important thing?
Yeah, and really it's an underrated skill, the ball handling that's involved, because so many different players are going to touch the ball, and so many guys go in so many different directions on every snap. The ball handling is it's the thing that has to be mastered. And both those guys have done a great job, but you hold your breath a little bit because there's so much of that involved.
Marquette Dixon rushed for over 2,000 yards for you last year. He, too, is gone now. Where do you find somebody? Is it just one guy, or is it going to be a group of guys to make up that production?
We genuinely do not really know till about midseason. A year ago, Marquette wasn't a starter for us. Worked his butt off, came in and was a starter. And, you know, I don't know how he didn't emerge as a huge runner till almost midseason, ripping off all those multi-hundred-yard games. We expect somebody to do that again this year, whether it's going to be Alexander Blackman, who's kind of a hammer, Elijah Carter, who is a little bit of a slasher, Nick Cohn, who's another hammer, Philip Cole, who's a great perimeter runner, and I'm sure I'm missing people, Ben Dankow. Somebody's going to emerge, and we'll either use all the parts or we'll do whatever the game dictates.
You know, it's funny. I think if you're watching this right now, people might be a little bit shocked at your calm demeanor in all of this, but this is a process. I mean, it's important that you try to get that win each and every week, but it is a process to make sure that you're in the playoffs, and week one is always such a big question mark anyway, isn't it?
very difficult in our situation week one because we're playing one of the very best teams in Ohio. So there is, they're so good. They do so many things well. They're so well coached, that's not the case with every team. I mean, they're in the elite 1% of teams coaching-wise, so they can kind of beat you on the chess match, and we've got to have a move ready to go back. You want to be calm, but this game's really important. You don't know what points are out there, but that being said, you want to be your very best when they matter the most. This game really matters. It's really important. Not as important as a game in October or November or certainly December.
Well, when talking about Toledo Central Catholic, you played them the last couple of years. Last year was a very close game. You lost it by 3 points. With them, they're kind of like you. They like to run the football a lot. We've talked about your offense. Let's talk about your defense now. Who are going to be the key players that have to step up and fill the holes that you've had on defense?
Yeah, we returned so many good defensive players. We're excited about that. They've done well in preseason scrimmages. But it's going to be a challenge because Toledo Central Catholic they're about 50-50 run pass now. And so impressive with them is, they won championships in the mid-2000s. They won a championship a couple years ago. And they are vastly different teams every year. Last year they lost the State Player of the Year. And they've changed their entire offensive identity, so to speak. They're doing different things, getting on the perimeter now, throwing more screens, getting the ball to their great playmakers. That causes quite a bit of a challenge. We've got to do a great job of being versatile defensively, where they're going to get on the perimeter with runs and still kind of fake that run and throw that quick screen, which is deadly for them.
This week's game is at home, and you're going to play a lot of games at home this year, and that was not the case last year. You were on the road for the bulk of the year. Having this game, what kind of a challenge is it? You open at home, and that's good. I know you always want to play at home, but your students are going to be more amped up. They're going to be playing in front of their peers. How tough will it be to harness the energy early?
Well, we want to use that energy. I think it's a really difficult thing to get on that bus 3.5 hours after a school day or leaving early. I know it was difficult for them when they came down 2 years ago. It was difficult for us last year. I don't know the easy way to get around it either. You're not flying there, and it's going to. That bus is hot. I know it's going to be 70 degrees, but that takes something out of you. And we always love playing at home. We have great students. We have great support. Our community loves it. We're going to enjoy playing this at home. I mean, it's not even a question. Those guys that say, I want to, get everybody all close together on those road trips, they're just trying to tell themselves the best of lies.
Physical conditioning is something you work on year-round in this program. But how long will it take you into the first game to figure out where that conditioning is?
Yeah, we've worked more. In my 15 years as head coach, I can't remember a time we've worked as hard on that aspect. Not that anything was deficient, but we know how good this opponent is, and we've got to be in great condition. We're in the best condition, knock on wood, that we ever have been. It's not the heat and the humidity that gets you, although that is a factor. It's the level of intensity for an opponent like this. These kids are going to play so hard on both sides that you can't replicate it. There's no practice where you can go really, really hard against somebody that's trying to push you back. I mean, the intensity level they've not seen, and that's going to expend a ton of energy. Last year, both teams, we dropped from cramps in the third quarter. They dropped from cramps in the fourth quarter. It really was bodies everywhere, and everybody blamed the heat or talked about the heat. That's important, but, we were hydrating, they were hydrating. It's a level of intensity that can't be replicated.
Well, one other big thing this year is we are going to have these broadcasts. We're going to have them on a regular basis, and really, thanks to your help, we've teamed up with Game Day Broadcasting, and I'll be calling games. That means you and I are going to see a lot of each other. Good for me. I don't know about for you. But I'm really looking forward to this and a chance to kind of bring this program and put these games right to everybody that wants them every week.
We have one of the best programs in the state of Ohio, and to have this kind of coverage gives it what the program, I think, deserves, what the tradition deserves, and I'm excited about it. Game Day does an awesome job. Obviously, voice of the Columbus Blue Jackets, professional sports, playoff team, and wow, it's really exciting, and it's what our kids and program deserve, and we're at the beginning of the beginning.
What's the excitement level going to be from the time that final bell rings on Friday afternoon until 7 o'clock?
For me or the children?
Well, both.
For the children, it has been, it'll be a fever pitch. For us as coaches, it'll be knots in stomach and worry warts and all that. We would be terrible players. The kids, if people talk about it being a coach's game, is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. The kids are relaxed. They're going to go really hard. They're resilient. As coaches, we're worried and all bottled up, and it'd probably be better if we didn't show up.
Well, look, all you can do is drop the game plan. They've got to do it, but I know you've been working really hard, so I wish you nothing but the best.
All right, thank you.
That is Brad Birchfield. He is the head football coach here at Bishop Hartley, 7 o'clock at home Friday night. Toledo Central Catholic will be here to kick off the season. And we're going to continue talking about this right now with two of my, well, they're going to be fellow broadcasters with me this year, and they're going to be people that you're going to see here on Resounded Glory coming up next, and that is Grace Cole and Garrett Tipton.
Welcome to another episode of Resounding Glory with your host, Grace Cole, and my co-host,
Garrett Tipton.
We are joined by two amazing football players today, Alexander Blackman and Nick Cohn. So you guys are back-to-back state champions. So as a player, how does it feel to be on a team that everyone wants to beat?
It's exciting because, like, talking to friends that I have from different schools, nobody on the outside really likes us, so it kind of makes us, like, I guess, the bad guys, Central Ohio, that, you know, everybody wants to beat, so it's fun.
I feel like it makes, no matter who you play, it makes every game a big game. It makes it so that every week you have something to look forward to Friday night. It makes it, you know that your opponent's going to give you the best they got. So it makes every week a good game week. So that's what it brings to the table.
And you mentioned of how every week is something exciting. So why is it important to look at each game as just one game and not look straight to the state championship?
I feel like it has a big part of just how every week we're going to get the best of the team that we play against. So not overlooking a team and playing it week by week is important, so that we don't overlook a team, that we always give them our best and they give us because we know they're going to give them the best that they have. So I think that's an important part.
Yeah, feeding off what Nick said, I think even if it's a team that's not as good, each team will have a different skill set that'll help us prepare for the, you know, deep postseason run that we want to have at the end of the year.
Now, knowing that you guys have been back-to-back state champions and knowing that you guys both feel that you have just as good a team as you had the past 2 years, how hard, especially moving up to Division III, will it be to three-peat?
Going to state championship every year is top percent of the teams. The best, the teams that go are always going to be the best in the state. But one of the things is having good chemistry with your team and being able to play one game at a time. Make sure that everyone's playing to their best ability to make sure that in the end of the season you're going to be the best team that you can possibly be.
Yeah, I would say going back to back is hard, but three-peating is even harder, especially when, like, you know, when you have 2 really good years, that means you had 2 really good classes. So that means 2 new classes are cycling through and taking on the leadership roles that the last classes did. So I think that's the biggest challenge is making sure the leadership piece is there, because you lose that when you lose your seniors. So I think that's going to be the hardest thing about three-peating.
Now, there's been a bunch of changes in your coaching staff, especially this offseason. You lost Coach Wooten, which was a big part of your guys' offseason, big part of your pregame. Now, saying that, what's the difference between this offseason with two-a-days and during practice? Is there a difference this year than there has since you guys have been freshmen now, knowing that you're seniors?
I feel like one of the biggest changes this year, our conditioning this year has been one of the best I think that we've done. Knowing that our first game would be TCC, we knew that the intensity is going to be second to none. So last year we had some problems with cramping and stuff, but I think that this year coach has done a really good job to make us sure that we're in condition, make sure we're hydrating before the games, all throughout the week of game day. So I think this is an important part of the off season, and two-a-days is a good time to make sure that all of our team from last year that we've lost is our chemistry is coming together and making sure that we play well as a team, and I think that's coming together great. So.
As far as the coaching staff, I don't think there's really a difference. The expectations are the same. Even with the 2 new coaches, Coach Sam and Coach Thibner coming in, they've done a great job. There's not really a drop-off. I think Coach Wooten was kind of the heartbeat of our team. So with him, you know, you lose that motivational piece. So, you know, we've kind of had to find our own motivation, our own heart, you know, the way to get things done. So, but, yeah, as far as the coaching, I don't think there's been that much of a difference I've noticed.
Now, speaking of motivation, you went up there last year, close game, you didn't come out with it. They come down here this year. The hype's around them. Apparently you're the underdog. How does that motivate you for this week? I mean, this is a big game. This is week 1. This could shape the rest of the season. Now, how do you see it coming out on Friday? What's your motivation for that?
I mean, our motivation is just, it's always been to prove people wrong. We feel like going back to having the target on our back, we have the least amount of boys in Division III. You look at our offensive line every year compared to the other team's defensive line, we have skill players playing on the offensive line because that's just the way we do stuff. So we prefer, I think if you ask a lot of people, we prefer being the underdog because when you're the favorite, there's a lot of pressure with that. So we embrace it.
I think that this year, knowing that we're two top teams in Division III, it's going to play a big part of everyone knowing that whoever wins this game is most likely automatically probably going to make the playoffs. So this game, everyone knows it's a big game, and I think that's a motivation in and of itself to play your hearts out there on Friday. So
now, speaking of it being a big game, Friday's right around the corner. How are you going to feel once school's out? What's the feeling going to be? It's senior year. It's your last go around, last first game you have of your career here. What's it going to feel like when you step out on the field for the first time in game uniform, ready to go?
After school ends, it's like a different mode. You're ever since the last bell of the school day, it's game time. So leading up all until the first kickoff, it's game time. So listening to your music is always a good thing, but just being able to get in the mindset that tonight you're going to give it your best and being able to try your hardest on the field. So.
I feel a little different. I'm ready to play right now. Like I feel it inside. Like I'm excited. I could put the pads on right now, and especially on game day Friday, it's going to be really hard to focus in class. It's just from past experiences, especially when it's a big game. You're sitting there, before or after lunch, and you're just like, I just want to play. Like I just don't want to do this. But we know school is important, so we try to stay focused. But every football player knows on game day it's hard to focus. So we're ready to go.
Last year, before the state championship, Coach Wooden said to you guys, it's not the skill to win, it's the will to win. So what does that mean to you guys, and how are you going to apply that to your first game this week?
I think that quote from Coach Wooden is kind of the staple of our program. We're just like every team we play against, and you look at the matchup, on paper, there's no way we should win just because they're bigger, they're faster, they have D1 commits. It's all that stuff factors in. But we take that stuff to heart. Like going back to what I was saying earlier, based off the enrollment. If you look at the enrollment of all the D3 teams, we have the least amount of boys. So we're probably going to be one of the smaller D3 teams, but that's all it is. We don't really care. We play with more heart. We don't care how big you are, how fast you are, and that's how we win.
Yeah, I think a big part of it, of the will to win, is being able to trust the guy next to you that they're going to give it your all, and that you have the trust in the guy next to you that he's going to do your job, because there's 11 players in the field, and anyone can make a mistake at any time, but you have the trust in your brothers next to you that you guys all have the will to win instead of this. I mean, the skill is important, no doubt, but we take will any day. So.
Well, I want to thank you two for joining us here today, and make sure you tune in at 7 o'clock on Friday. And this has been another episode of Resounded Glory. See you next time.